shots started, I was right here.
17-year-old Juan Mendoza and 18-year-old Eric Contreras sat down with me and watched themselves on surveillance video from Friday night's terrifying shooting spree.
The only thing that went through my mind was survive, you know?
These local teenagers who grew up in Isla Vista were simply at the Ivy Deli Mart on Pardal Road to grab a burger. If you look closely, they're in the middle aisle towards the back. They describe the frantic scene at 9:30 at night when suspect Elliot Roger fired off his first shot inside the store.
And I just hear like a pop outside and like some screaming, so I wasn't really sure like what was happening until I heard some other shots come into the store, like several shots.
Now, between the employees and the customers, there were about 25 people inside this market at the time of the shooting. This glass refrigerator door completely shattered by a barrage of bullets, 4 bullets to be exact, 2 of which came from right underneath the cashier's desk. 2 others, totaling 6, came from the front window. The teens managed to crawl their way out the back door, only to be left paralyzed with fear.
Like, we just laid there. We couldn't do anything. We were afraid to come back.
And yet another twist. The alleged gunman was no stranger to this deli. In fact, I'm told he was a regular.
So I knew him when he comes in. I say, "Hi, Elliot, what do you like?" And, you know, he will pay, and very kind. He will order very nicely.
The owners say they never knew Roger was troubled. And while there's a sense of relief that most people, including Juan and Eric, were able to escape Roger's raging bullets, one of those bullets took the life of UCSB sophomore Christopher Martinez. Now, Juan and Eric tell me that they're still processing everything. They have since returned to the store to pay their respects. But for these 2 high school teens, they're just taking it one day at a time. In Isla Vista, I'm Shirin Rajaee.
He was just an all-around boy. You know, and that's exactly how he was.
That's how you remember him?
Yes, that's how I remember him.
Yolanda Magana was just 12 years old when her 7-year-old brother was taken away from her and her family in the most horrific way.
It's still very vivid. It's amazing how something like this impacts you.
A few weeks before Christmas in December of 1978, little Javier, who had been playing with a friend at the family store, was nowhere to be found. Just feet away, a woman then in her 20s named Julia Diaz had an evil plan that would forever change a community.
We knew a lot of people, so it wasn't his nature to just take off with somebody. So I just thought, okay, we're going to find him and that's it.
This is the marketplace on Haley Street on Santa Barbara's east side, where little 7-year-old Javier used to love to play. Yolanda's family owned this market some 30 years ago, and just around the corner in this apartment complex is where Julia Diaz lured her victim.
Julia had him in her room. She strangled him. She beat him over the head with a hammer. And then, while he was still alive, stuffed him into garbage bags. It's believed that she purchased the garbage bags from my parents' market.
Diaz was tried and convicted, found guilty of the murder of Javier Angel and attempted murder of yet another child just a week before. Published reports said the motive was extortion. Diaz was sentenced to 25 years to life.
I really think that given the violent nature of it, honestly, I don't think she should be alive. But unfortunately, because of when things occurred, how the laws had changed, the death penalty wasn't an option.
For years, Magana fought, going to each of Diaz's parole hearings, arguing against her release. Finally, in 2011, a victory. For the first time in the history of California, the parole board set Diaz's next parole hearing in 15 years instead of 5. The Discovery Channel will be airing little Javier's tragic story just shy of what would have been his 42nd birthday. And while Magana thinks of her brother every day, she now focuses on her own family, her 2 sons and 2 beautiful little granddaughters.
I hope that it makes it proves to my granddaughters they can be strong women and defend what's important.
Now, Julia Diaz, who's in her late 50s, has been denied parole. She will spend the rest of her life behind bars in a women's prison just outside of Fresno. And Yolanda's brother's story will be told this weekend on Investigations Discovery Channel, Friday night at 10, Saturday at 1 a.m., and again Sunday at 3 p.m. In Santa Barbara, Shirin Rajaee, News Channel 3.
We continue our Heroes of Isla Vista special reports. Tonight, a story that needs to be told, but the timing had to be right. A police officer in Isla Vista that terrible night came very close to being a casualty. 2 things saved him, a paramedic and a stunning sequence of events. News Channel 3, Shirin Rajaee reports.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm so glad to see you alive and well.
It's an emotional reunion that's been 1 year in the making.
Thank you for doing what you do.
I've been wanting to give you a hug for the last year.
These two were brought together because of something that shook the community May 23rd of last year.
583, 2 gunshot wounds, 1 in the back and 1 in the arm. I'm sorry, but we do need the medics to 711 as well.
I checked in with the lieutenant. He said go on into the
Officer Mark Vieira, a nearly 30-year Santa Barbara police veteran, was among the many called to help when chaos filled the streets of IV. Tracing back his steps that night, the first time he's been back.
Brings back a flood of emotions of what happened and how things turned out and how things could have turned out.
It was around 2 in the morning. Vieira gets briefed with other officers ready to go on patrol.
And he says, "You're at the foot patrol office?" I said, "Yes, I am." He says, "Okay, look." He says, "We're just down at the end of the block at the park on Embarcadero and Trigo."
When suddenly he's faced with his own crisis.
I took my phone from my ear, folded it closed, went to put it away, and for a brief instant, I thought to myself, man, I feel, and it was an internal thought, man, I feel dizzy. And before I could even complete the word dizzy, I was out.
With no warning, Vieira hit the floor, suffering a massive heart attack. It was right here inside this garage of the Isla Vista Foot Patrol where Detective Mark Vieira had his heart attack. In fact, it was right here that he collapsed. Thankfully, he had 3 to 4 sheriff's deputies who immediately performed CPR, and that's when Deb Lux jumped in.
It's kind of surreal. I mean, that whole evening was, so much more than what we normally deal with.
Paramedic Deb Lux was also responding to the crisis in IV, just wrapping up a tough night, putting gear in her car when she heard people shouting for a medic.
I just basically did hands-only CPR, which is what any person in the public can get trained to do. And so that early intervention of good quality CPR and then also the external automatic defibrillator, was critical. Getting that electricity to his heart right away, I think, helped.
Her quick intervention not only helped, but the cardiologist who operated on Officer Vieira tells me everything she did made the difference between Vieira's life or his death.
It was absolutely imperative that he get that rhythm reversed back to a normal rhythm. Those people, well trained, know how to use the machine, know where the machine is, applied the proper therapy, and this guy's alive today because of that. Not because of anything I did, because of them.
While Vieira was grateful to be alive, he didn't want this story known at the time, because of the 6 innocent students who were not as fortunate as he was.
I didn't want the story to go out because I didn't want to be a distraction. And I just wanted... Sorry. I just wanted my brothers to be able to focus on the victims. And that was it.
But now, 1 year later, Vieira wanted to meet and personally thank the woman who was in the right place at the right time to save his life.
Thank you is a simple word, but it's really the only words that I have. Without their intervention, I'm not here today.
And so, we made that reunion possible.
I asked Debbie Lux to be here because I thought that she really wanted to see you. And I figured maybe you'd want to see her as well.
Yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to speak to anybody from that night.
Let me bring in Debbie.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Thank you.
Oh.
Deb Lux and all of the officers who helped save Vieira's life were honored recently. But when I asked about taking on the title of hero...
It's hard. It's hard to think of myself as that. I'm just glad I was there and that I could help along with all the other people that were there.
Because of the actions of those involved that night, I'm going to be able to retire and enjoy the fruits of my labor. It's a debt I'll never be able to pay. It just can't be done.
Shirin Rajaee, News Channel 3.
And Detective Vieira had a stent put in, and his heart is now in good health. Tomorrow is his last day at the police department. Amazing story.
It is unacceptable that they use their power to keep us voiceless.
The powerful voice of David Oyelowo in a role he says was his calling to play Martin Luther King Jr. as he led thousands of black Americans in a march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama for equal voting rights some 50 years ago.
On Bloody Sunday, 600 of us left a little church and attempted to march in an orderly, peaceful, nonviolent fashion. And we were determined to make it from Selma to Montgomery.
And this is the man who was actually there, crossing that bridge with just a backpack on his shoulders and a whole lot of courage. When you were watching the movie, did it take you back?
Oh, it did take me back. I cried. I tried to stop crying, and I couldn't because it was so real. We didn't have any idea that we would be beaten and trampled by horses and tear gas. So on that afternoon, when I was sitting here and left bloody and unconscious, I thought I saw death. I thought I was going to die. And to live and almost 50 years later and see someone playing me on a film, I am blessed.
John Lewis, one of the most prominent civil rights leaders of our time, was among the legends who paved the way, and among those legends honored on the red carpet at a special screening of the film Selma in Santa Barbara.
I'm only standing here, my wife is standing here because of the march, because of those people sacrificed their lives so that we could vote.
They put their lives on the line. People died. People sacrificed huge amounts.
It's so wonderful to be able to watch the people who are actually walking across that bridge now watch this film. And tonight we get to honor and celebrate all of you.
Montecito resident Oprah Winfrey signed on as a producer of the film and also stars as Annie Lee Cooper, a little-known hero of the voting rights movement that eventually led to President Johnson signing the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
And the fact that this really happened and that it actually happened 50 years ago and that I get to celebrate them and that I get to celebrate them in Santa Barbara and I get to live here. I mean, it's just, oh, Lord. It's amazing.
Now, while the film Selma takes us back to a tumultuous period back in 1965, it echoes what is happening in the United States today.
When you think of what's going on in Ferguson, New York City, Cleveland, and all around the country for that matter, it is a stark reminder that we have been through difficult times as a nation, and it's just a reminder of how we all have to come together to come to some solution.
And the most beautiful thing I saw during the protest was it wasn't just black people. It was people of all races coming together saying, this is wrong and we're with you, which is what I saw in Selma. So the timing of it is really shocking.
The parallels are striking as we've been witnessing thousands of demonstrators joining together around the country to protest injustices they say Americans still face.
Do you think that this young generation is trying to do what you guys did 50 years ago?
Well, I think the young people today all over America, and some not so young, are picking up where we left off.
Now, Selma hits theaters nationwide today, but Sunday are the Golden Globes. They're up for 4 nods, including Best Picture, Best Actor for David Oyelowo, and Ava DuVernay. She's the first African-American woman to be nominated for Best Director. In Santa Barbara, Shirin Rajaee, News Channel 3.